That's the business community, but what do the markets make of it all? Let's talk to Marc Ostwald. He's the Chief Economist and Global Strategist at ADM ISI. Good to see you again, Marc. So the more we innovate, the more we will grow. That's what Rishi Sunak said at the CBI. Are the markets on his side, though?
Not really. I mean, the markets are going to be sceptical the whole time because essentially both Mr. Sunak and Mr. Hunt, the Chancellor, are trying to appease a very fractious and fractured Conservative Party. And it's very difficult to keep that in place. And that's why they put the measures in place, which are basically amongst the bigger headwinds to UK growth. So, it's all very well to talk about innovate, but if government's cutting spending and not offering any incentives to the business in communities of a significant nature to innovate, and indeed not helping to solve the labour shortage problems, the labour skills shortage problems, then it's just going to be a big challenge for the UK for quite some time.
We were just talking about this with our correspondent Andrew Wilson, that the CBI has called for immigration rules to be loosened to recalibrate the labour market and ultimately boost growth. So that's what business wants, but will it make business sense?
Oh yeah, to a certain extent, it makes a lot of business sense. Solving the problem of low labour force participation quickly is not going to be easy, because a lot of that has to do with the health service and not having a reactive rather than a proactive health system. So that can't be solved very quickly, and therefore somewhere along the line, immigration laws need to be relaxed, specifically with regard to the labour market. Now, whether it's special visa rules or something else, it needs to be done. Otherwise, really, there's not going to be much momentum there. And the productivity growth, which has been terrible in the UK, will continue to be bad.
And that momentum, of course, plays into business confidence. So, we've heard from the UK's business body. But what about Europe? Let's talk about German producer prices and that data that's come out. Is it good news or bad news for not just the German, but the broader Eurozone economy?
Well, it's good news in the sense that basically it tells us we're past the peak in terms of pipeline inflation pressures in Germany. But how are we getting there is probably the more important point, because why prices are coming down, particularly power prices, which drove all of this. There was a 10.4% fall in energy prices on the month. It's because production's being cut. So basically, companies are basically looking at the cost of their energy costs and cutting output. So it's a double-edged sword, this one. Inflation will come down, so interest rates probably won't go quite so high. But if the work or the major driver of the European economy, i.e. Germany, is cutting industrial output because of high energy costs, and they're not coming down to the sort of levels which would make them competitive, then that is a bigger problem which has to be addressed in the longer run.
And how does consumer confidence play into all this? So we've got that big shopping day coming up at the end of the week, Black Friday. A lot of economies, a lot of governments around the world hoping that consumers are going to spend everyone's way out of recession. Is that a false hope?
Well, consumer confidence in the euro area, whether you look at it national or pan-eurozone, is improving slightly because of the fall in energy prices and petrol prices. But if you look at things like purchasing, major purchases indices, they are basically at their very worst levels, and people are feeling the pinch. So I think it's going to be a disappointing Black Friday, particularly in the euro area. It wouldn't surprise me if it's also disappointing in the United States as well.
Interesting stuff. Marc Ostwald, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for your insights.